But first, NATO members have agreed to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP by 2035. The move is seen as a major win for the US president. This as Donald Trump has been calling for European leaders to shoulder more of the responsibility for the defense for years. Member states also affirmed their ironclad commitment to Article 5, this after Trump raised doubts over his interpretation of collective defense. NATO allies also see a profound long-term threat posed by Russia. France 24's Kethevane Gorjestani is covering the NATO summit for us, and we can go across to her now. Kethevane, the summit declaration has been released. Talk us through what's in this declaration and what's out.
Well, look, a lot of what we had been talking about coming into the summit actually made it in, despite some last-minute concerns after the comments by Donald Trump on Air Force One coming here to The Hague. So first of all, as you mentioned, the ironclad commitment to Article 5 with this declaration talking about the ironclad commitment to collective defense, stating that an attack on one is an attack on all. So it seems that Donald Trump, or at least the Americans who were negotiating the declaration, didn't, decide to oppose any such statement, a very clear statement about all of the members being supportive and committed to Article 5. Then there's this question of the significant increase of military spending to 5%. The allies agreeing to increase to 5%, and it's divided as we were expected. Divided with 3.5% of core defense spending. That means weapons or troops, as well as defense-related spending of 1.5% of GDP. All of that is aimed for 2035, with a review happening sort of at the midway point in 2029. Those two dates are very interesting because they are both after, technically, Donald Trump will have left office. This, of course, means that there are no opt-outs, at least from what we can read in the declaration, despite the opposition of countries like Spain, who had officially demanded an exemption, calling these goals unreasonable. The question now is whether the wording will leave a little bit of leeway to the countries to decide how they're doing that spending and how quickly they're increasing that spending to meet those goals. Finally, there was a question after Donald Trump spoke on Air Force One about whether or not the threat of Russia would be mentioned in the declaration, and it is mentioned, even though it's a very quick line talking about the profound security threats and challenges, in particular the long-term threat posed by Russia to the Euro-Atlantic security and the persistent threat of terrorism. So all in all, this is what we were expecting. One thing that is not so present in the declaration, although it is mentioned, is the support for Ukraine. It is mentioned that there will be continued support for Ukraine, that the direct contribution to supporting Ukraine's defense will go to that 5% goal of military spending. But besides that, there's not much more about Ukraine, and that was in a way a concession to Donald Trump to get him on board with this declaration.
Kethevane, I was listening earlier before I came on set to the press conference underway with NATO Secretary General, and he's been on the defensive. Basically, this summit people are saying that it has been catered to Donald Trump. When Donald Trump was on his way here on Air Force One to Europe, he posted a text message that Mark Rutte sent to him, very filled with praise and flattery for the U.S. president, and he's saying this is not that it wasn't intended to be that way.
Well, look, I don't think a lot of people here at the NATO summit will believe when Mark Rutte says that this was not about Donald Trump and about getting him to be happy with the summit. Obviously, that text message really showed what Mark Rutte was trying to tell Donald Trump, but he said it publicly, so it's not a surprise that it was put in a text. We've seen Mark Rutte every time, basically, he's talked about the summit. There has been a word of praise for Donald Trump, and he repeated it in front of the cameras earlier today when he was with Donald Trump, talking about how this was a great victory for Donald Trump, how no other U.S. president had managed to do what he did, meaning get all the allies to join forces and actually agree to increase their spending. But beyond the fact that they give him that victory, because Donald Trump has been pushing for allies to do more, to spend more for their defense, the whole summit itself was really built around Donald Trump. It's a very short summit. We had just one plenary session that lasted around 3 hours, which is really unusual for NATO summits. And that is, according to the reporting, in part due to Donald Trump, because they wanted to keep him engaged. They don't want him to get bored with these long technical meetings. And they also managed to do a very short declaration, one that pretty much fits in a page, which is also usually very much longer than that. So all of the logistics to the timing to the subject matter of the summit was really catered to Donald Trump. It really felt like every time Marco Rutte and some of the other leaders were speaking, they were speaking to an audience of one, mainly Donald Trump, because the goal here, keep it short, keep it simple, and keep Donald Trump happy to avoid any major outbursts, any early departure from Donald Trump, and any sort of pulling out of what had been agreed for the declaration.
Yeah, because I heard Donald Trump doesn't like to read a lot. So, Kethevane, thank you very much for that. Kethevane Gorjestani reporting there from the NATO summit.